Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Bookshelf Odyssey. My name is Art, and I'm here to do my Cloak and Dagger Christmas TBR. The Cloak and Dagger Christmas is a reading challenge where in the month of December you pick mysteries and you read them. I think this time of year is just such a great time for reading the cozy mystery, which are my favorite. And I'm really excited this year to be a part of this reading challenge. So the prompts are here. Let me read those to you. They are inspired by literary detectives. We have Inspector Bucket, read a Victorian mystery or one set in the Victorian era. Inspector Gamache, where we read a mystery with a bilingual detective or one set in a village. Tommy and Tuppence, we read a mystery that features a great team. Agatha Raisin, read a mystery with an amateur sleuth. Hercule Poirot, you read a Golden Age mystery or one set between 1920 and 1945. Detective Galileo, read a translated mystery or one set in a different country from yours. Kinsey Milhone, read a mystery with a private detective. Flavia de Luce, read a children's mystery or new to you series. And then finally, the one I think I'm going to enjoy the most is Columbo, watch an episode of a mystery TV show. What's great about this is there are a couple detectives on this list I've never heard of before, like Detective Galileo and Agatha Raisin. I think I know her, but I'm not sure. But the rest I have read before, or at least have heard of before, and in fact are some of my favorite detectives, such as Inspector Gamache. That series by Louise Penny is my all-time favorite mystery series. Columbo, I have not seen any Columbo in a while, and I think it's time to rewatch a Columbo here soon. Now, if you complete 3 of the prompts, they tell me that you will be considered an amateur investigator level. If you do 6 prompts, you are a police inspector level. And if you do 9 prompts, then you have reached the Sherlock Holmes level. As much as my gut tells me I want to do all 9 prompts, I want to be careful and not overdo things because I do have a lot going on this month at Christmas time. I have a Christmas podcast as well. I have a family, and they would like to see me at some point during this month. So I'm going to try to kind of ease into it this year. I'm going to do 4 of the challenges plus the group read. So this year, the group read is called Footsteps in the Dark, and it is by Georgette Howe. And this is a series I haven't heard of before, so this will be a new book to me. And this book says it's about locals claim it is haunted and refuse to put a single toe past the front door. But to siblings Peter, Celia, and Margaret, the priory is nothing more than a rundown estate inherited from their late uncle, and the perfect setting for a much-needed holiday. But when a murder victim is discovered in the drafty priory halls, the once unconcerned trio begins to fear that the ghostly rumors are true, and they are not alone after all. With a killer on the loose, will they find themselves the next victim of a supernatural predator, or will they uncover a far more corporeal culprit? That sounds like it should be a fun read. I'm going to actually start that this weekend, and I'm looking forward to I think Kate is going to organize a Zoom chat where we can come on and discuss that, so I'm hoping to be a part of that as well. But that's the group read, which I'll be doing. I'm going to do the Flavia de Luce prompt, and I'll be reading I'm going to kind of stretch it a little bit and read a Flavia de Luce book for that prompt. I know it's probably not a series technically considered a children's mystery, but it features a child of sorts, so I'm going to say it's count. Plus, this is the last one that's been published in the series. I really hope that he writes more. But yeah, this is the last one in the series that I have. I haven't read it yet, so I thought this would be a great way to possibly finish up the series or at least read the next installment. And that one is called The Golden Tresses of the Dead. And here's what that's about. says, although it's autumn in the small English town of Bishop's Lacey, the chapel is decked with exotic flowers. Yes, Flavia de Luce's sister, Ophelia, is at last getting hitched like a mule to the wagon. A church is a wonderful place for a wedding, muses Flavia, surrounded as it is by the legions of the dead, whose listening bones bear silent witness to every promise made at the altar. Flavia is not your normal 12-year-old girl. And no, she is not. If you know the series, you know what a delight it is that she's a 11, 12-year-old girl. Her mother is dead. She lives with her father and her two sisters and the groundskeeper named Dogger. And that's how the series starts. And I picked this up, I think, some years ago when there were only about 3 or 4 out in the series. And I've been a huge fan ever since. Flavia reminds me a bit of Wednesday Addams, maybe not quite as demented, but she certainly has a dark streak. And there's an ongoing mystery throughout all 10 books. So I would really encourage you to read them in order. But each mystery is kind of its own independent mystery, but there are certain things that happen, especially in surrounding the death of her mother, what her father did during the war, World War II. And I really don't want to give away much more than that. That kind of weave its way throughout the series. It's one of my favorite mystery series, and I would highly recommend it if that sounds like it would be of an interest to you. It's not really a cozy mystery, but I mean, you can consider it a historical fiction mystery with some coziness added to it. But it's a great read. And there's even one of the mysteries takes place at Christmas time, and she lays a trap for Santa, which it was really fun to read. That book was a great one. All of them are so good. This is actually one of the series where one of the later books, and if you've read them all, there's one of the stories that has a fairly heartbreaking ending. And I actually, when I got done with it, I kind of got fussy at it and I threw the book across the room, which I have never done before. So that should tell you the power of the story. It just moved me so much that I kind of got a little angry, but it's such a beautiful book and a beautiful story. And I'm looking forward to enjoying at least one more mystery with Flavia. And I've heard rumors that they're going to make a TV show out of these books someday soon, and I really hope that's the case. The next prompt I'll be doing is the Agatha Raisin prompt, which is read a mystery featuring a amateur detective. And for me, I'm going to pick up a cozy mystery for this one called Plaid and Plagiarism, the Highland Bookshop Mystery Series, Book 1, and this is by Molly McCrae. And the description here reads, a murder in a garden turns the 4 new owners of Yon Bonny Books into amateur detectives in a captivating new cozy mystery novel from Molly McCrae. Set in the weeks before the annual Inversgale Literature Festival in Scotland, Plaid and Plagiarism begins on a morning shortly after the 4 women take possession of their bookshop in the Highlands. Unfortunately, the move to Inversgale hasn't gone as smoothly as they planned. Looks like there's mystery afoot and somebody is killed, as you would expect. And these ladies, it's up to them to solve the mystery, it sounds like. I try not to read too much about the descriptions. I'm really nervous about spoilers, so I try to be careful about that. I have a book version of this, but I'd really love to read or listen to an audio version because I'm a sucker for accents, and especially if this is a Scottish accent, I gotta listen to that audiobook. So I might just do that and listen to it and read along with it. But this is a new series to me. I haven't read any Molly McCrae before and haven't read the series, so that will be fun. And then, of course, I have to do the Victorian prompt here, the Inspector Bucket tag. Inspector Bucket is of Charles Dickens fame, featured in Bleak House, I believe. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I think it's Bleak House. I'll be reading Trail of the Serpent by Mary Elizabeth Braddon. I have just come across Mary Elizabeth Braddon's work just a few years ago and read Lady Audley's Secret and blown away by that book. So I have decided to try to read through all of her novels. And this past year on my Christmas podcast, I read her story, The Christmas Hirelings, over the space of a couple of episodes, and I talked about that a little bit, and it's such a wonderful story. So for the Inspector Bucket prompt, I'll be reading The Trail of the Serpent by Mary Elizabeth Braddon. So here's just a small synopsis of what that book is about. It says, The Tale of the Serpent is the debut novel by Mary Elizabeth Braddon, first published in 1860 as 3 Times Dead, or The Secret of the Heath. The story concerns the schemes of the orphan Jabez North to acquire an aristocratic fortune and the efforts of Richard Marwood, aided by his friends, to prove his innocence in the murder of his uncle. So it sounds like it will be a sensational novel, or a sensation novel. There's a murder mystery. There's some Dickensian aspects to it, which I know I'll enjoy. So I'll be reading that again for the Inspector Bucket Challenge. And I have read just a couple of Braddon's novels, but I've enjoyed them very, very much. I can't wait to dig into this. So a lot of these books I'm going to be starting to read here over the course of the next couple of days. And then I will hopefully be making some videos throughout this month to kind of update you on my Cloak and Dagger Christmas. But the final prompt I'll be doing is the Columbo prompt. And I thought about watching a Columbo episode for that, but I just saw that the TV show Psych has released a new TV movie called This Is Gus. And I think in that Gus Burton is getting married. And if you're familiar with the show, it's a series about a so-called psychic detective. He's actually just very good at deduction. And he sets up shop as a psychic detective because he doesn't want to be a real detective like his father. It is a wonderfully funny show and one of my favorites. And I've been really glad that they've extended the series into TV movies over the last couple of years. They had the first one that came out, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. I didn't care for that as much, but then the second one I liked quite a bit. And then this third one I'm hoping will just kind of be a home run. But that's just going to be fun to watch and reminisce over one of my favorite TV shows. All right, so that will give me 4 prompts. So I should at least hit that amateur level detective. And I got other books I'm going to read, even a couple mysteries I might pick up along the way, and I'll see if I can plug them into one of the reading prompts. And who knows, I could hit 6. It's unlikely I'm going to hit 9 this month or this year, but let's say it'll be something to try for next year, and we'll see if I can get there. All right, so that's my Cloak and Dagger Christmas TBR. I'd love to know if you are participating, and if you have a TBR list, link your video in my comments below and I'll give that a watch. If you're in the mood for something Christmassy, again, I mentioned I have a Christmas podcast. This month's story, along with some interviews I'm doing with different authors and Christmas people, I'll be reading A Christmas Carol, and that will be linked on my channel, my Cozy Christmas podcast channel. And those links will be in the show notes if that's something that might interest you. I also make some Christmas book recommendations on my YouTube channel on the other side. So I'll have some links there. I suppose maybe I should just combine both channels into one. I don't know yet. We'll see how that works. But I do have a lot of Christmas content over there if Christmas is one of your favorite holidays. I got into podcasting with my Christmas podcast last year, so it's been a lot of fun just to grow that and begin this new podcast / YouTube channel journey that started with Christmas. As far as my book podcast goes, I've got a great episode I just dropped featuring the Dark and Stormy Book Club podcast, and we had a great time. We had kind of a mystery novel roundtable discussion where we talked about our favorite mystery genres and made some book recommendations there. And that's not a video, it's just audio, but it is on my YouTube page as well as on my podcast page. So you can check that out and get some great book recommendations there. And if you don't listen to their podcast, you really should. It's a wonderful podcast that every week brings new mystery books and new mystery writers to my attention. And I've really grown to love that podcast. All right, well that'll do it for today. That's my TBR. It's not as ambitious as some, but I think it's one I'll be able to accomplish this month, and I'm going to enjoy doing it. And that, in the end, is what matters. So until next time, I hope you are enjoying what you're reading, and take care.